Hey, Greg Luther here, and listen, if you're anything like me, if you're a licensed real estate agent, you've never been a big fan of Realtor.com, Zillow.com, some of these other websites that are out there, but I gotta tell you, they got this part right, and it's something you can certainly learn from. If you've seen some of their ads lately, they certainly know how to generate leads. You know, one thing about Realtor.com or Zillow or Commissions Inc. or any of these companies that are out there, they do a good job of generating leads, and then ultimately their goal is to sell it to the real estate agents. Not worried about that today. What I wanted to focus on is the new ad that Realtor.com is running that's generating all kinds of buzz, all kinds of interest, and most importantly, qualified prospects that are ready to make a move right now. And you can copy this yourself. I never recommend you give money to any of those lead generation companies out there. Want to be clear about that up front. Do not sign up for any of that stuff. But if you look at the message that they're utilizing, you can do the same in your own message. Specifically, what they're doing now is they're offering the ability for you to search for assumable loans, how to find properties that have a 3% or a 4% rate, and sometimes even less. Many of them are 2% mortgage rates where that loan is assumable. That's such a huge opportunity for home buyers that are looking. The biggest problem right now, the reason they don't want to make a move is because rates are higher than they want to pay. Well, there's a whole bunch of properties that have assumable loans. Anything that's FHA or VA, 100% of those are assumable by law. So Realtor.com got that part right. And if you look at some of the ads that they're running, they're saying, search our website for assumable mortgages. Well, listen, you can do exactly the same thing. You should be doing exactly the same thing. This week, I have a training coming up where we're showing that assumable loans approach. How do you find those sellers? How do you actually get the deal done in 45 days or less? There's agents that are taking 6, 7 months to get these things done. How do you get them done in 1.5 months or less? We're going to cover a lot of information on that, but the key factor is right now, so many people are saying they can't afford homes. You know, home ownership is unaffordable. Interest rates are unaffordable. The monthly payment, we just can't get there. Look, you can pay half of that. Anybody that needs to move right now, if they have an assumable loan, that mortgage payment's a lot lower. As a matter of fact, if you're pre-approved right now at $600,000, you'd qualify for $900,000 with that lower rate. If you're approved right now for 300 and you can't find anything at 300, well, you can get 500 or 600 with that lower interest rate. So there's a lot of buyers that are getting back into the market because of these assumable loans. They're saying, hey, if you can find me something at 3%, I'll gladly pay more than market value because my payment's going to be affordable. I can get it at essentially half the price I would pay now. So there's really 8 questions you need to ask yourself. And I want to run through those with you very quickly here. There's 8 questions that you need to ask yourself when it comes to assumable loans and whether you are able to do that with any of the prospects that you meet. So 8 things that come up for a lot of real estate agents. Number 1, how do we get them completed in under 45 days? I've always heard that they take forever. Many of you just saw VA just mandated that they must be done in 45 days or less. The same is true for FHA, though. If you have a processor that's handling this for you, you hire someone on to do this, they can get it done in 45 days or less in most cases, certainly never more than 60 days, but it should be a quick closing. Number 2, does the seller have any liability after the mortgage is assumed by that next buyer? So let's say you go list a property today and you get the buyer on the home and they assume that loan. Does the seller have any liability thereafter? That's something you need to think about as well. Number 3, does the buyer need to cover the difference of the mortgage amount versus the sales price? So let's say the seller owes $300, but they're buying the home at $360. Does that buyer need $60,000? Can they get a second loan? Which is the next question you need to be asking. How do I get a second mortgage on some of these things? Maybe the spread is bigger. Maybe it's worth $500 and the seller only owes $350. How do we handle that? Because if you're going to sell in today's market, and this is crucial, I want you to think about this. You heard me say this the other day. If you go meet some of the old timers, like myself, that had to sell when rates were 12% and 15%, you know what they'll tell you? All of the deals we did were loan assumptions. That's all we did. We did assumable loans because nobody could pay the 17% rates that were out there. Well, listen, that's where it's at now. And that's so much so that Realtor.com is spending millions of dollars advertising that they now have a searchable feature on their website. You can search for homes with an assumable loan under 4%. Such a huge opportunity if you market it the right way. So you got to ask yourself, how am I going to manage that spread or that gap between how much the seller owes and what the home's actually worth? Does the buyer need to bring that money to closing? Okay. Now keep in mind, there are no appraisals needed with this. You're not doing normal closing costs and appraisals and all of that. And a buyer will gladly pay $10,000 more than the home is worth to get a 2.5% rate. You know how I know that? Because when interest rates were 2.5% before, buyers were paying $100,000 over asking price and getting beat. That's what happens when rates are low. They would gladly pay $50,000 over, but in this case with assumable loans, it's a great opportunity. If the seller needs to sell right now, we can get them not only market value, but get them a premium on that market value if they include the mortgage with the home sale. So it's important you think about that. If you include the mortgage with the home sale, it's going to work much, much better for getting top dollar for that property, no matter where you're at in the country. As a matter of fact, wherever you are, I want you in the comments right now, let me know the city and state that you're selling real estate. Just type it in the comments here. We are doing thousands of these transactions all over the country, thousands of them. And it's such a great opportunity for you to help the seller, help the buyer, and help yourself. Because listen, 3% rates are back. I mean, Realtor.com is advertising it on TV and on the radio and everywhere else. It's such a great way for you to make money. Other questions you need to be asking. Who should be processing this transaction? You damn sure cannot be going through the lending servicing company that says, oh, it's going to take us 17 years to get this thing completed. They don't have any skin in the game. They don't make any money when this goes through. What they do is they throw the file to the side and they do something else. Right? So you have to know, if you have a professional that's doing this for you, how do I escalate that deal? How do I get it to an executive or to a manager so we can guarantee this thing gets done in 45 days or less? You should have a processor doing that. You should never call the bank, and the seller should never call the bank. The buyer should never call the bank. That's not your job. Your job is real estate agent. So again, no matter where you're at in the country, and I can see you guys are starting to check in from where you are around the country. I know a lot of folks that end up watching this later. You come back the next day, there's hundreds of people that have commented here. Everywhere in the country, we're utilizing this right now, and you can certainly make a lot more money. You can generate more listings, and you'll get a heck of a lot more buyers. Like, I have a list of homes available in my area with a 3% mortgage rate. You think you're going to get any leads from that? Of course you are. They're highly qualified, and they do have to be qualified. They do have to be qualified for a mortgage, so they are good people for you to work with. Other questions you need to be asking. If I do a VA deal, and that buyer is not VA, will my seller lose their VA eligibility? If you don't know the answer to that, you're not qualified to sell homes in today's market, because this is how homes are selling. You've got to get trained up on how to do that. If you're going to sell the home and you're going to include the mortgage with that home, you have to know how to put that transaction together. It's not your typical closing, go to the title company and they get their own loan and appraisal and inspection and all that stuff. It's not your normal transaction, but this is how homes are selling in today's marketplace. Another question to think about, how do I get a list of homes in my zip code that have assumable mortgages? Did you know you can acquire that list? You can get a list of everybody that has an FHA or a VA home that bought their home between 2019 and 2021, which means they got a crazy low rate. There was nobody buying them, FHA or VA, 2019 to 2021, paying 6% rates. It just wasn't happening. 100% of those were at low rates, and they're guaranteed assumable loans by law. If you get that list and you know how to market to that list, you will get listings in today's marketplace. We're doing this training on Wednesday. I'm only doing it one time, and it's filling up very quickly. We're trying to get our Zoom capacity changed here. If you go to www.includethemortgage.com. Somebody could type that in the comments for me. www.includethemortgage.com. No spaces or anything like that. We're going to be doing this training on Wednesday, and we're covering this. And I'm actually going to be showing the marketing pieces that are working well. The sales letters we use, the postcards we use, the email sequence we use after you get that list, or after you get that lead. So how do I find the list? How do I generate the lead, meaning a seller that does want to sell, would like to sell using the assumable loan, and would like to include the mortgage with that home sale? Those are working very, very well for us. And I'm just going to do a walkthrough on Wednesday. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So if you look down in there, you should see includethemortgage.com. That should be a clickable link, hopefully. But if not, you can just go there. And we'll probably have to take that page down because it is filling up very quickly. But I'm going to do it one time. It's probably going to be a half a day training. Everybody that registers for that is also going to be able to get the recordings. So if you're not available Wednesday, I think we're doing it Wednesday at noon Eastern time. And it's going to be 3 or 4 hours of training because I'm really going into detail for a real estate agent in today's market. Here's how you need to be handling home sales and what you need to be doing for assumable loans to be able to offer 2% and 3% rates with pre-arranged financing, and the home does not need an appraisal. I mean, think about this. There's so many ways you can do this. When we get VA deals, game changer, man. Are you telling me I can take all of the VA buyers out there and say, hey, I know you're already pre-approved at 7%, but I got a bunch of homes at 3%. Do you think it's going to be hard for me to find a VA buyer? Like, do you think they'd say, no, I don't really want to pay 3%. I'd rather pay 7%. I don't want those 9 homes that you have there. I'm going to wait on something else. Of course, you're going to do well with this if you set yourself up the right way. You got to know how to find those properties, how to market to those properties. How do you get a seller to sell, and where are they going to move to? We're going to cover all of that on the live training. So again, that is coming up on Wednesday. I want you to go check out the website right now. I think it's $299. And you get lifetime access to that. Not only can you participate live, but you can also get all the recordings, the downloads, the full, let's call it a system in a box. You're getting it all digitally, but a system in a box so you can start selling in today's market. Because listen, rates ain't going down. I don't know why people think they're waiting on rates to go down. That's a thing of the past. It's not every Fed meeting that goes by, they don't lower rates. We already have an inventory problem. Do you think they want more buyers in the market right now? No, we got to get the sellers to make a move. So this is how we're doing it, and we're doing very, very well with it. We'll talk about some of the experiences that a lot of our agents have had here, the number of deals they're doing, how they're closing this business. I'm going to cover all of that on that half-day training. But regardless if you're there or not, here's what you need to know. In today's market, this is what's selling. So much so that Realtor.com is advertising, search our website for assumable loans. I was looking on their website this morning, and sure enough, there's a button, only show me homes with assumable loans. You can do like 2% to 4%. Why would you not do that as a real estate agent? See, there's not a problem with the market. There's not a problem with the economy. There's not a problem with interest rates. There's not a problem with consumer confidence. There's not sellers don't want to sell because they're sitting on the mortgage, and buyers don't want to buy because they don't want to pay 7%. That's what losing agents are saying, while there are thousands of winning agents out here doing it this way. You know why? Because they include the mortgage with the home sale. It's the most marketable thing you'll ever have, and the seller can sell at a premium. There's a lot of sellers that don't want to sell right now, but you put a lot of extra money in their pocket, it changes their mindset a little bit. And it's real easy for you. Well, then, Greg, where would they move? This is what we do. This is like, don't give yourself condescending questions that you're not even looking for a real answer. You're trying to find a reason not to close business. You know what you need to do? Start attracting a lot more buyers and sellers. So get those questions answered so that you can start selling more houses. So I want you to check it out right now. Go to that website. Grab a pen right now. Write this down. Includethemortgage.com. I want you to go there. I want you to grab your spot for this. Hopefully you join us on Wednesday. Whether you can be there Wednesday or not, we're starting at noon Eastern time. It's about a half a day. And the big problem that we've got, Not a lot of people have a half day available. So what I'm going to do is give you the recordings. I'm going to give you the downloads. I'm going to give you the marketing templates. I'm going to give you the email sequences, everything you need, because this is what our top producers are doing in today's market. So you want to copy that approach yourself. Okay, so check it out right now. Go there to the website. We're not going to be following up with people or chasing you or anything else because, frankly, it looks like it's going to be filled anyway. So you want to get your spot right now. You don't want to wait. It's this week. So check it out right now. www.includethemortgage.com. Let's get you some closings. I want to get you some listings in today's market and have those things incredibly marketable that a buyer will gladly pay a premium. They don't need a down payment. They don't need an appraisal. They don't need any of that stuff. They've got to decide, are they going to cover the gap or are we going to have a second mortgage on that gap? And by the way, you can market to homes that don't have a huge gap. Okay, so that I see a lot of comments on Facebook like, oh yeah, well, what if there's $700,000 in gap between what they owe? First of all, why would a seller still have an FHA mortgage if there was a $700,000 gap? And if they had a $700,000 gap, they're not at 2%. If they're at that low rate, they bought between 2019 and 2021. We already know that's the case. So it's not like there's going to be a $500,000 in equity and they're still paying PMI and they're still in an FHA loan and all of that stuff. That's not the case. I'll show you how to find those homes, how you whittle down to find the best ones to go after, and then what you do and say in order to get them to sell and then market that property to buyers. So I think you'll find it very helpful. Go check it out right now and we'll see you on Wednesday. IncludeTheMortgage.com. Talk to you soon and bye-bye for now.